Mary Pope Osborne, Magic Treehouse 12, Part 1, Polar Bears Past Bedtime. Chapter 1. Are you serious? Ooh! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes. In the dark, the sound came again. Woo! Jack sat up and turned on his light, put on his glasses, then grabbed a flashlight from his table and shone it out the window. From his table and shone out the window, a white snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Woo! The owl said again. It's a large eye. Look right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sound like a rabbit and a gazelle? A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the magic tree for the last two adventures. Woo! Wait a second. Jack said to the owl, I'll get Annie. Jack's sister Annie always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her as she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan sent another sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. She hurried with Jack to his room. Jack led her to the window. The snowy owl was still there. Woo! Said the owl. Then he raised his white wings and took off into the night. He wants us to go to the woods, said Annie. That's what I thought, said Jack. Meet you downstairs after we get dressed. No, he says go now. Right now, said Annie. We'll have to wear our pajamas. I'll have to put on my sneakers, said Jack. Okay, I'll put on mine too. Meet you downstairs, said Annie. Jack pulled on his sneakers. He threw his notebook into his bag, then grabbed his flashlight and tiptoed downstairs and was waiting into the front door. They sounded slipped together. The night air was warm. Moths danced around in the porch, around the porch light. I feel weird, said Jack. I'm going back to put on some real clothes. You can't, said Annie. I'll say right now. She jumped off the porch and headed across the dark yard. Jack groaned. How did Annie know exactly what the owl said, he wondered. Still, he didn't want to be left behind, so he took after her. The moon lit their way as they ran down the street. When they entered the Frog Creek woods, Jack turned on his flashlight. The beam of light showed shadows and swaying branches. Jack and Annie stepped between the trees. They stayed close together. Ooh! Jack jumped in fear. It's just a white owl, said Annie. He's somewhere nearby. The woods are creepy, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie. In the dark, it doesn't even feel like ours was. Suddenly, the owl flapped near them. Yes, said Annie. Jack shone his flashlight on the white bird as it rose into the sky. The owl landed on a tree branch, right next to the magic treehouse. Then it was Morgan the Face, the enchantress librarian. A long white tail gleamed in the beam of Jack's flashlight. Hello, Morgan called softly in a smoothing voice. Climb up. Jack used his flashlight to find the rope ladder. Danny and Annie climbed up and up into the tree house. Morgan was holding 3 scrolls. Each one held the answer to an ancient riddle that Jack and Annie had already solved. A journey to the ocean, the Wild West, Africa to find answers to these 3 riddles, said Morgan. Ready for another journey? Yes, said Jack and Annie together. Morgan pulled out a 4th scroll from the folds of her robe. She handed it to Annie. After we solve this riddle, we'll become master librarians? Asked Annie. And help you gather books through time and space? Said Jack. Almost, said Morgan. Before Jack asked what she meant, Morgan pulled out a book and gave it to him. For your research, she said. Jack and I looked at the book's title, Adventure in the Arctic. Oh wow, the Arctic. The Arctic, said Jack. He turned to Morgan. Are you serious? Indeed I am, she said. You must hurry. I wish we could go there, said Annie. Wait a minute. We'll freeze to death, said Jack. Fear not, said Morgan. I'm sending someone to meet you. The wind started to blow. Meet us who? Said Jack. Who? Asked the snowy owl. Before Morgan could answer, the treehouse started to spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2. The Howling. The air was crisp and cold. Jack and Annie shivered. They looked out the window in a dark gray sky. The treehouse was on the ground. There were no trees and no houses, only an endless field of ice and snow. Morgan and Owl were gone. Read the riddle, said Annie, her teeth chattering. Jack and North over the scroll. Read, I cover what's real and hide what's true, but sometimes I bring out the courage in you. What am I? Better write it down, said Jack, shivering. Pulled his notebook and copied the riddle. Then he opened the book, found out a picture of barren right field. Read aloud. The Arctic Tundra is a treeless plain. During the dark winter, it's covered with snow and ice. In early spring, snow falls, but the sky begins to get lighter. During the summer season, the snow and ice melt and the sun shines 24 hours a day. It must be early spring now, said Jack. There's snow, but the sky is a little light. Turned the page. There was a picture of a man with a hooded coat and fur trim. Look at this guy, said Jack. Showed Annie the picture. We need his coat, said Annie. Yes, said Jack. Listen to this. Read aloud. This seal hunter wears sealskin clothing to protect him from icy winds. Before modern times, native people of the Arctic believed by hunting seals, caribou, polar bears, and whales. Jack took out his notebook, wrote, the Arctic seal hunter wears seal skin. He was too cold to write anymore. Clutched his pack against his chest and blew on his fingers. Wished he was back home in bed. Morgan said someone was coming to meet us, said Annie. They don't come soon, we'll freeze to death, said Jack. It's getting darker and colder. Listen, said Annie. A howling sound came from the distance. More, what's that, said Jack. They looked out the window. Snow was falling now. It's hard to see. A howling grew louder. It was mixed with the yipping and yelping noise. Jack and Annie saw dark shapes coming through the snow. They seemed to be running towards the treehouse. Well, said Annie. Great. That's all we need, said Jack. We're freezing and now a pack of wolves is coming for us. Jack pulled Annie to the corner of the treehouse. They huddled close together. The howling got louder and louder. It sounded as if the wolves were circling the treehouse. They whined and yelped. They couldn't stand it any longer. Grab the Arctic book. Maybe this can help us, he said. He searched in for a picture of wolf. Oh, hi, Annie said. I looked up. Caught his breath. A man was looking through the treehouse window. His face was surrounded by fur. It was the seal hunter from the Arctic. Chapter 3. Mush. Did you come with the wolves? Asked Annie. The seal hunter looked puzzled. Did Morgan send you to us? Said Jack. I had a dream, the man said. You're in it. You needed help. Annie smiled. Morgan sends dreams sometimes. She said, we came in Morgan's treehouse. It flies through time. Oh, brother, said Jack. You will believe that. Seal hunter smiled as if it was not surprised at all. We do need help, said Jack. We're freezing. The seal hunter nodded, and he left the window. He returned a moment later with 2 small parkas like his own. They were made of dark, heavy skins. The fur trimmed the boots. He passed one to Jack and one to Annie. Thanks, said Jack and Annie. They put the parkas on. Hooray, said Annie. It's warm. Yeah, said Jack. They were made of sealskin. Poor seals, said Annie. Don't think about it, said Jack. Pulled his hood up. His head and upper body were very sung now. Only his legs, hands, and feet were still freezing. Oh, thanks, said Annie. Jack looked up. The seal hunter was giving Annie a pair of fur pants. Then he handed a pair to Jack. Thanks, said Jack. He quickly pulled the pants on over his pajamas. Next, the seal hunter gave each of them a pair of boots and mittens. Jack took off his sneakers and pulled on the boots. He wigged his frozen fingers into the warm mittens. I have a quick question, Jack said to the seal hunter. You know the answer to this riddle? He opened his notebook and read, I cover what's real and hide what's true. But sometimes I bring out the courage in you. What am I? Seal hunter shook his head. Come, he said to Jack and Annie. Then he disappeared from the window. What about those wolves out there, Jack called. The seal hunter didn't answer. Jack grabbed Art's book and looked for a picture of the seal hunter. Jack found a picture. He smiled. The seal hunter was standing behind it. Say the dogs like Jack read. And cold weather, the seal hunter travels like dog sled. Siberian huskies often howl like wolves. A lead dog controls the others. The sled's runners are sometimes made of frozen fish rolled up in seaskin. Jack, there he looked up, and he was gone. Jack threw the book and the notebook into his bag. It was so fat, his furry clothes, that the backpack wouldn't fit. Jack loosened the shoulder straps and tried to put the backpack on again. It fit. Jack looked at the small window. That would be a tie face, too. He went out headfirst and barely squeezed through. Jack fell into the snowy ground. The snow was still drifting down. The air was misty white. Jack heard barking and howling. He moved carefully towards the noise. At first he couldn't see the dog sled. When he got closer, he counted 9 Siberian huskies. They had thick fur, big heads, and pointy ears. The lead dog barked at him. Jack stopped. He's telling you to climb on, said Annie. She was standing on the back of the sled. The seal hunter stood next to her in the snow. Jack jumped onto the sled next to Annie. The seal hunter cracked a long whip. Mush! He shouted. The huskies dashed off in a whirl of snow. Above them flew away the snowy owl. The dog sled skimmed silently over the frozen tundra. Chapter 4. Snow House. The dog sled skimmed silently over the freezing tundra. The seal hunter ran alongside it. Sometimes he cracked his whip against the ice. The snowdrifts looked like giant white sculptures as the sun slipped behind the frozen hills. Then a full orange moon rose into the sky. The moonlight lit a small rounded igloo in front of them. The dog slowed and stopped. Jack stepped off the sled and he went to help unhitch the dogs. Then he took his book out and read about igloos. The word igloo means house. In the language of native Arctic people, the house was filled with blocks of snow. Dry snow is good raw material for the help. It keeps in the heat. Temperature inside an igloo can be 65 degrees warmer than the temperature outside. Jack took out his notebook. He pulled out of his mitten just long enough to write Igloo Bean's house. "Come on, Jack," said Annie. She and the seal hunter were waiting in front of the igloo. The dogs were leashed together outside. Jack hurried to join them. The hunter pushed aside the animal skins covering the entrance. They stepped inside. A fat candle burned bright. Shadows danced on the walls of ice and snow. Jack and Annie sat on a fur-covered platform, watched as the seal hunter moved about. First he lit a small stove. Then he slipped outside, came back with a snowball and chunks of frozen meat. Put the snowball and poured over the stove. Then he added the meat. "What you making?" asked Annie. Jack pulled out his book and pulled out a picture of a hunter cooking. He and Annie read the words silently. There was a time when nearly all of the Arctic people's food and clothing and tools came from Arctic animals, especially the seal. Every part of the seal could be eaten. Lamps were fueled with seal fat. Clothing was made from seal skin. Knives and needles were carved from seal bones. He must be boiling seal meat. "Oh, seals," said Annie. Hunter looked up. "They're not boys, sir. That was because they knew we would die without them." "Oh," said Annie. "In return, we always thank the animal spirits," said the seal hunter. "How'd you know that?" said Jack. "We have special ceremonies." The seal hunter reached under the fur-covered platform and took out 2 wooden masks. "Soon there will be ceremony to honor the spirit of the polar bear," he said. "I carved these masks for the ceremony." "Polar bears?" said Annie. "Yes," said the hunter. "Just as the seal has given us many gifts, so has the polar bear." "Like what?" said Jack. "Long ago, the polar bear taught us how to live in the ice and snow," said the seal hunter. "Taught you?" said Jack. "Can you give us some facts?" The seal hunter smiled. "Yes," he said. "A polar bear catches a seal when the seal comes up to breathe through a hole in the ice. All the seal hunters watched the polar bear and learned. This is how my father told me to hunt seal, and this as his father taught him." "That's a good fact," said Jack. "The very first of my people learned to make igloos from polar bears," said the hunter. "Polar bears built snow houses by digging caves in the cliffs." "Another good fact," said Jack. "Sometimes the polar bear can even teach people to fly," said the seal hunter. "That's an amazing fact," said Annie. Smiled. "The rest sounded like true facts," he said. "I know that's pretend." The hunter just laughed and turned back to his cooking. "That's why I wasn't surprised to hear about the treehouse." Jack thought, "If he believes polar bears can fly, probably will believe anything." The seal hunter lifted chunks of boiled seal out of his pot. He dropped them into a wooden bucket and gave it to Annie. "Let's feed the dogs," he said. "Oh boy," said Annie. "Follow the hunter outside, swinging the bucket." Jack quickly threw his notebook and narrative book into his bag. He started to follow them. Then his gaze fell on the 2 bear masks. He picked them up under a better look. She was carved with the shape of a polar bear's face, with a broad nose and a roundish ears. There were 2 holes for eyes and a strap to hold it on your head. Suddenly Howl's spirit split the air. The dogs were barking and growling. They squealed. Other dogs attacking the hunter. Annie, still holding the bear mask, Jack charged out of the igloo. Chapter 5. You're it. The dogs were barking wildly at the 2 small creatures playing in the moonlight. "Polar bear babies!" cried Annie. One roly-poly cub leaped onto the snow, onto another. Then they both rolled through the snow. "Hi, little bears!" Annie called. The cubs jumped up and shook themselves like wet puppies. Then they scampered toward Annie, who rushed to greet them. "Hi, hi!" she called. "Wait!" shouted Jack. "Where's their mother?" Looked around for the mother bear, but she was nowhere in sight. Maybe they're all friends. So Jack looked back at Annie. She was wrestling with the little bears in the snow. She was laughing so hard she couldn't stand. Jack started laughing too. Carefully put the bear mask into his pack. Then he ran to join Annie. She was running with the cubs across the snowy tundra. One of them raced toward her, attacked her, and raced away. Annie ran after the bear and attacked him back. "You're it," she said. Jack and the other cub joined in. Soon, Jack and Annie and the two cubs were all chasing each other over the moonlit snow ahead of until the two cubs fell down ahead of them. The cubs lay perfectly still, panting. Jack and Annie stared at them. "Are they hurt?" Annie wondered out loud. Jack and Annie ran to the cubs. Then, just as they leaned out to say they're all right, the cubs jumped up. They pushed Jack and Annie over and scampered away. "They were just pretending," said Jack. He laughed. Jack and Annie charged after the cubs. Then they ran over the white tundra until they came to the frozen sea. Jack looked around. We're probably pretty far from the igloo. "I don't hear the huskies anymore," he said. "Maybe we should go back." "Wait in a minute," said Annie. "Look, the bear cubs scooted up a snowbank. They were on their backs, sliding down the bank to the ice-covered sea. Jack and Annie laughed. "It's like sledding," said Annie. "Let's try it." "Okay," said Jack, "but then we have to go back." Jack followed Annie up the snowbank. He clutched his pack in his arms. Annie lay on her back. She swooped as she slided down the ice. Jack followed her. "Watch out below!" he shouted. The little bears were sitting at the bottom of the snowbank. One gently whipped Jack in the face with a furry paw. Then she lay down. "I'm tired too," said Annie. "Yes," said Jack. "Let's rest for a minute." Jack and Annie looked up at the orange moon as they lay beside the cubs. All they could hear was the wind and soft breathing of the cubs. "I was wrong," said Annie. "Well," said Jack, "but we better head back to the igloo. Seal hunters probably looking for us. Plus, we have to solve the riddle." Jack rolled into the side and touched his stand. Crack. "Oh," he said. Went back onto his knees. He grew on thin ice. "What do you mean?" said Annie. Started to stand. Another crack ran out. "Uh-oh," she said. She carefully lay back down. The polar bear cubs moved closer to Jack and Annie. Made little crying sounds. Jack wanted to cry too. He took a deep breath. "Let's see what our book says," he said. Reached into his pack for the Arctic book. He took the masks out first and handed them to Annie. "I took this from the igloo by mistake," he said. He started to reach for his Arctic book. He heard the loudest crack of all. "Crack! You're not even moving and the ice is cracking," said Annie. Just then there was a new sound, low snoring sound. Came from the top of the snowbank about 50 feet away. Jack looked up. Staring down at them was the giant polar bear. "Polar bear mother," whispered Annie.